Good morning to one and all. I am Dr. A. Muhammad Mahroob Raja, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Microbiology, Jamal Muhammad College, Tiruchirappalli. I am going to discuss Introduction to Infection. An infection is the lodgement and multiplication of microorganisms in the tissue of host. Colloquially, infections are caused by viruses, prions, bacteria, viroids, fungi, and parasitic organisms. And infections are classified into many types. Infection present on the surface of the body is called as colonization. An infection that produces symptom is called as symptomatic or apparent infection. An infection is active but does not produce noticeable symptom is called as inapparent or silent or subclinical infection. An infection that is inactive or dormant is called a latent infection. Now we are going to discuss classification of infection. So various types of infection: primary infection, reinfection, superinfection, secondary infection, focal infection, cross infection, nosocomial infection, subclinical infection. So primary infection, initial infection with the organism in host, otherwise healthy individual. Reinfection, subsequent infection by same organism in a host, so after recovery from the infection. Superinfection, infection by same organism in a host before recovery. Secondary infection, an infection that develops in an individual who is already infected with a different pathogen. Focal infection, it is a condition where due to infection at localized sites like appendix and tonsil, generally effects are produced. Cross infection, when a patient suffering from a disease and a new infection is set up from another host or external source. The nosocomial infection, it's a cross infection occurring in hospital. Subclinical infection, it is one where clinical effects are not apparent. So another major types of infections is acute infection, an infection characterized by sudden onset, rapid progression, and often with severe symptoms. Chronic infection, an infection characterized by delayed onset and slow progression. Localized infection, an infection that is restricted to a specific location or region within the body of the host. Systemic infection, an infection that has spread to several regions or areas in the body of the host. Opportunistic infection, an infection caused by microorganisms that are commonly found in host environment. The term is often used to refer to infection caused by organisms in the normal flora. Then causative agent of infection. So saprophytes, it is one of the causative agent. They are free living organisms which fail to multiply on living tissue and so are not important in infectious disease. Parasite, they are organisms that can establish themselves and multiply in host. They may be pathogen or commensal. Pathogens are those which are capable of producing disease in a host. On the contrary, commensal microbes can live in a host without causing any disease. Then source of infections, man is himself a common source of infection from a parent or carrier. Healthy carrier is a person harboring pathogenic organism without causing any diseases to him. A convalescent carrier is one who has recovered from disease but continues to harbor the pathogen in his body. Infectious disease transmitted from animals to man are called as zoonosis. Zoonosis may be bacterial, example for zoonosil, plague from rat. Rickettsial, example for rickettsial disease, murine typhus from rodent. Viral, example for viral disease, rabies from dog. Protozoal, example for protozoal disease, leishmaniasis from dogs. Helminthic, example for helminthic, hydatid cyst from dogs. And fungal infection, jubilic dermatophytes from cat and dogs. Insect, the disease caused by insect are called arthropod disease. Insect like mosquitoes, fleas, lice that transmit infection are called vector. Transmission may be mechanical and these are called mechanical vector. They are called biological vector if pathogens multiplies in the body of vector. Example, Anopheles mosquito in malaria. Another source of infection, some vector may act as a reservoir, host. Example, ticks in relapsing fever and spotted fever. Soil, it is another source of infection. Spores of tetanus bacilli, gas conquering infection remain viable in soil for a long time. Water is one of the sources. Vibrio cholerae, infective hepatitis virus, example hepatitis A and hepatitis E, may be found in water. Contaminated food may be a source of infection. Presence of pathogen in food may be due to external contamination. Example, food poisoning by staphylococcus. Then sexual intercourse, contact with one another. Example, syphilis, gonorrhea. Then inhalation as a source of infection. Example, influenza, tuberculosis, smallpox, measles and mumps. Methods of transmission of infection, injection, example cholera from water, contaminated food and dysentery, hand-borne diseases. Inoculation, tetanus infection, rabies from dogs, arbo from insect and serum from hepatitis, especially in hepatitis B types of infection. Congenital infection, example syphilis, rubella, toxoplasmosis and cytomegaloviruses. The method of transmission of infection, insect, they act as mechanical vector, especially for dysentery and typhoid by housefly, or biological vector, example malaria of infectious disease. Iatrogenic and laboratory infection may be transmitted during procedures. Thank you.